Good day. I'm your host, Craig Miner. Today's Toxic PFAS Situation Report is to introduce you to a chemical laboratory that, among other things, tests blood for PFAS. It is important you follow the Toxic PFAS Situation Report channel, which will be on YouTube and Facebook for now. I will be bringing you news on the PFAS poisoning of a nation, its military, civilians, waterways, and land. Information you need to know. My guest today is Dean Wiltse with Enviro Lab Services in Oscoda, Michigan. So without further delay, let me introduce you to Dean.
Hello, Craig. Good morning.
Good morning.
Obviously, Dean Wiltse here, and I'm here to just talk about our lab and how we evolved and our latest service offerings.
Awesome. Well, you're in Oscoda, Michigan, is what I understand.
We are, and our lab is located on the former Wurtsmith Air Force Base. The Wurtsmith Air Force Base site is widely recognized as one of the most contaminated sites in the United States, and that fact, along with local environmental concerns, was really the impetus for us for developing a PFAS testing lab.
Gotcha. So obviously, what's most important, probably on everybody's mind who will be watching this, is the fact that you can now test blood. But before we do that, how many years now have you been in operation? How long has the Enviro Lab Services been there?
We've been operating, testing, actually, wastewater, drinking water, and all other sorts of media for about 5 years now.
Good.
But throughout those 5 years, we've been kind of in like a complete developmental mode in terms of finding new methods for testing any type of PFAS media, imaginable. So
Awesome.
5 years, but 5 years it's been an advanced and rapid development here because of the problem and the amount of concern coming from all sectors of society about, where is the PFAS? Like where could my potential exposure have come from? And it seems like hardly a week goes by that we're not asked to test something that has never been tested before.
Right. No, so I can see now that's why you're doing this and testing PFAS, is because your whole goal is to give people the knowledge that they've either drank this stuff or they've been exposed to PFAS. And I would imagine people would like to know if it's in their creeks and waterways and rivers and that and all that. So let's talk about your testing method. Just give people a brief understanding, educate everybody on exactly how you do this testing.
Right. Well, in the beginning, we went through the certification process with the state of Michigan, Eagle, to do drinking water, which is an EPA 537.1 method. Yeah, it was at the time. That
Right.
method has now evolved. There's actually another method now.
Right.
And drinking water is, obviously probably one of the highest concerns. I mean, that is a direct exposure route for folks. And the EPA is now publicizing that over 50% of all public water supplies has had PFAS detected in there. But a lot of the other media that we test, everything from fish tissues from various lakes, the Great Lakes, animal tissue, local deer, etc. Those are all methods that they refer to it as a modified 537.1 modified, and that is where we have really have concentrated on developing a lot of these modified methods that have never been actually implemented before.
Gotcha. Now, is there? You've sent me some slides showing some of the graphs and things. Anything you would like to quickly share there to kind of educate folks on the kind of what you're doing?
Sure. Probably one of the most alarming ones to me was the Asabo River, which is very near and dear to my heart. I grew up fly fishing on the Asabo River. We always felt like that, if there were clean fish anywhere, it would be in the Asabo River.
Gotcha. Is that first
Um,
slide here about some of the test
no,
results from the?
those are some tree cores that were done for Western Michigan University, which
Okay.
shows the spikes you see there are certain compounds, PFAS compounds that show up there. That's some interesting research they're doing, but um, the that shows that's another sampling here on the base. Um,
I see.
I might
I
have
see.
sent them to you in reverse order, but it's just the
That's
Asavo
okay. That's
River.
right. Yeah, I'm sure everybody will be. This is all new to a lot of people, so they're
Hmm.
interested in this stuff. So this is the kind of stuff that you're doing. You're actually out there pulling the stuff right out of the soil and the water and the fish. And so here's some pictures of that site work. This is
Yep.
interesting. This right here. What's this from?
That's some aggregate material that near a construction project here, which basically had some couple areas there where PFAS was above the acceptable limits. You can go to another one there. The next one
Yeah.
will show, I believe.
Yeah, let me just make a point here for our viewers that the key constituents of the AFFF or the aqueous film forming foam that was used in firefighting at Wurtsmith, the top PFASs are PFOS, which is you're showing a very large number there, and the second highest number was PFHXS. So
Hmm.
what you're seeing in the ground is consistent to what was being put on the ground. All right, so let's now
Correct. And
move.
if one of those compounds show up, any one of them, actually, in most cases, it's indicative that there was, it was those components don't generally just show up and exist by themselves. It shows that there was, in fact, a release of like a triple F. This is an interesting one. This is some dog chews. One of our analytical chemists was concerned about whether or not these treats that he was buying for his dog and had some in there, and sure enough, uh, it did.
Wow,
So it
wow,
kind of underscores, I mean, our society is still in a waking up mode about these
right,
forever chemicals and how much they got integrated into our food supply. Um, and it's still, I mean, that's the exciting part for us. I mean, Enviro Lab Services was started to help speed up the process, the educational process of how extensive this problem is. That one's showing some pretty strong peaks there. Zoom that in just a little bit, if you don't mind.
sure.
I
How's
think at the
that?
top, I'm wondering if that's the fish project. That might have been the top one's the blank, the chromograph, and um, right, and that has to do with yeah, that's the fish project. Okay,
Okay,
Clark's Marsh here in Oscoda,
gotcha.
where the local sewer system, the base sewer system, the effluent ends up, and these are some of the highest numbers ever seen in fish.
Wow. Let me ask you, every one of these spikes is a type of PFAS molecule?
Yeah, yep,
Oh, okay.
yep.
And so that begs the question, Dean, just how many different PFAS molecules can you test for?
Um, we can test for all of them actually. It just depends on the media and what the detection limits are. And in most cases, the area of concern revolves around 29 different molecules. Um,
Right,
but they all have the fluoride carbon bond, and most of them are the length of the chain, and which can also indicate the tenacity of the actual molecule in the environment.
right. And that's
So
a I was going to tell you that I'm going to do a future broadcast, and we'll bring in an expert on how this molecule is designed and what it looks like.
okay, I was just going to add that from a layman's point of view, the only part you really have to recognize is that these molecules are all part of a family that involves a bond between a fluoride and a carbon atom, and that those bonds are some of the most strongest bonds of any chemical substance, and that's why they're referred to as forever chemicals. And all the different symbols or abbreviations for all of them are still, none of them are good from an environmental standpoint. So
Right.
that's really what you're dealing with there. And I think a chemist or one of our own analytical chemists, they can talk and maybe even too. I think there's a point where the focus is lost when you talk about the difference between each one of the symbols.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm guessing by the way you're talking, forever chemical and all that, that this doesn't, these kinds of chemicals don't occur naturally in our
Uh,
environment.
yeah, no, it's something that is you know to force these bonds and stuff. It's a product that was basically engineered to perform for a maximum performance, like your Scotch Guard in your carpet or your Teflon pans, and an aqueous foam that just won't break down. And so it's a case where it was a man-made chemical structures that you know that are at the root of this problem.
Gotcha. So this slide here that you gave me is the one of the fish in Clark's Marsh, and that marsh is just south of Wurtsmith, if I remember, or adjacent to it, kind of part of Wurtsmith Air Force Base or the former Wurtsmith Air Force Base. So what are we seeing here? This is a summary. What's going on?
Yeah, that's the summary of the graph, the spikes you were looking at previously. Um, and the colors are like uh, you know all everything that's just way above and beyond what is acceptable, from an environmental standpoint. And the important part of Clark's Marsh is that it ultimately drains in the Asabo River, which ultimately drains into Lake Huron.
Right.
And historically, Lake Huron, the mouth of the Asabo River, has been a very important fishery over the years. So obviously, this presents a really big problem.
Right, right. Sorry, I
I think,
just
yeah,
accidentally flipped off it. So I'm going to blow this up. So what you have here is we're seeing things like 27,000 parts per trillion. Am I
yes,
reading that correctly?
yes,
Okay. So
yes,
these are all in parts per trillion. That's a lot. So the EPA says that if you drink water that is over zero point zero 0.02 parts per trillion, that could be bad for your health. So that's a big difference between zero point zero 0.02 and 27,000.
yes. Those numbers are alarming.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's get to your last slide if that's something and that just looks like more of the uh, fish spikes. So I'm
Right.
seeing that.
That's how when you're using liquid chromatography, mass spectrometry, those are your spikes, those are your recoveries, and um, you know that's the
Okay.
cystographic. Yep.
Yeah, that's good. So then, so let's talk about, you've already kind of said some of the things that you test. Kind of run through a laundry list of all the kinds of things that you can test. So our viewers, if they're concerned about anything, they know what can be tested.
Right. Um, well, we in this lab we have done some pretty unique things. I don't know if we're the only ones that have done it, but um, like tree cores, we have a university that we work with that wanted to document to find out if a tree was a living time capsule of when PFAS actually showed up in the environment. So they went into these older trees, which they felt would have, been alive maybe maybe 10, 20 years prior, and to the onset or when PFAS showed up, in the markets. Um, and it had never been done before, and I think that research that was being done along with our lab, you know, confirmed that uh, that from the time that these chemicals entered the marketplace, the tree was actually beginning to absorb it, and it showed up in the rings of the trees at exactly
Wow.
where you would have expected it to. So I'm pretty happy that our people pioneered that method for doing those. We continue to do research or testing for that research university on that. Obviously, concrete and asphalt. Somebody tears down an old building that may have had PFAS exposed or used in it, and they bury the concrete and or they use it for they rip wrap in a seawall. Well, what we're doing is we're spreading this forever chemical. So it's important to know where it is, first of all, and then second of all, either mitigating it, i.e., destroying it. That research is emerging all the time. We work with a lot of companies that are developing technologies to literally destroy it. I would say we're in the infancies of it. I don't think there's
Right.
anything that's truly sustainable or capable of handling the magnitude of the problem. But
Right.
so the second part is to encapsulate it. Maybe we can't destroy it, but if we could stop the migration of it into our drinking water, into our animals, and so those technologies are being developed and explored all the time, and we actually work with several companies that are looking to come here on the former base and test research or test methods for containment and for actually mitigating it, destroying it here on the base, and we partner with them to give them the technical support they need to see if this technology will end up being useful.
Right.
And a lot of that we do on gratis, just because we live here, and we're on kind of a ground zero with that. But so that brings us to the point, like, okay, so we got this forever chemical, it's everywhere, we're drinking it, it's in our fish, we're eating it. Um, okay, why? All right, what's next? Well, obviously, everything we worry about from an environmental standpoint basically boils down to, well, how's it affecting us, the humans?
Right.
And we now, we're again that research is that science is constantly improving and evolving, and we now know that these PFAS molecules can cause all kinds of health issues, and it's not something that's it's a serious issue, and there's serious medical conditions that can develop because of the PFAS in your blood and tissue. So we have developed a method for a blood test, and
Awesome.
we recognize that most people don't want to go to have blood drawn in a clinical setting, and we realized that an at-home minimal blood, just like a diabetes person would just prick their finger, and that would probably be acceptable to people to have their blood screened to see what their numbers are. And so that's our latest venture, and we've rolled it out here just recently. It's new. We are now we set up Enviral Health. It's a sister company along with our other sister companies, and its sole focus is to start screening individuals that have concerns about what levels of PFAS they may actually have.
Right.
Okay. So you will go to the website, which that's a homepage now, and it has the sister companies. And the first thing you will do is click on the Enviral Health.
Okay.
You can do it there. Yep, that's
Right.
perfect. And then there's your one page. Describes the entire process, and to order the kit, and you will go down and it says text this number, because following HIPAA regulations, you will text us, you will text that number, and then you will get an invite to establish your own client portal. And that'll come back to you through a Thrive, and then you'll fill out some information there. And there's a $249 charge, and we will email the kit directly to you with the return label. And there will be a couple. It's a very simple kit. You will prick your finger according to the instructions that'll be in the kit, and you will, apply those drops to a card, to a certain spot, and you will put that back in the mail, and you will mail that back to us in simple forms. And we will analyze your blood, and we will screen it for, I believe it's either 17 or 19 of the compounds, and then that data will be posted on your personal client portal, where when it's ready, you'll get an email that'll tell you to log into your own portal, and those results will be there for you. And it's a pretty simple process. Outside, 4 to 5 weeks. Inside, it can be done in a couple weeks. A lot of it just depends on the sheer volume that we're receiving at any time. And that'll take the guesswork out of wondering, at what levels you may have been exposed
Right.
to at some point.
Right. So what I'm seeing here is $249. I know that's probably at least half the cost that I've seen just about in every other lab. I'm not sure how many labs there are in the country. I've used to know of 2, but that's a very good price. Let me ask you, while we're on this, and as we're beginning to wrap up here, what about disclaimers? What can people use this for? Kind of briefly tell us that.
Well, to answer that question in more of a roundabout way, but there's a link on that same brochure down there. It's a testimonial, and that was published in the Michigan MLive. It's down on the bottom left-hand corner, and there's a story about a person who knew they had been exposed, and they when she found one of those other labs that would test the blood. And you're correct, there was only 2 of them. I think we're the third one that I know of, but that does it at home like this. And her doctor, when she got her results in the story, told her, well, there's really not much we can do. I mean, yeah, you got high, you have high levels. Well, it wasn't long after that, she had another medical issue, and she insisted that they do some further testing, because they were writing off her symptoms as maybe just a common type of malady. And she went out, they did a ultrasound, I believe it was, and found out she had a tumor growing on her thyroid. And so
Wow.
the bottom line is, we're always in charge of our own health, and you have to do your own research. I think medical professionals, may differ on like what they may tell a person that goes in and says, "Hey, I had my blood screened. I'm concerned about it." But I think this is a case where not knowing it, can hurt you. I truly
Right.
believe that it's not acceptable to not know.
Right. So basically what you're saying is you can take this information, if you know what's in your blood, and if you got high PFASs and you have a known big contamination source, like living at a military base like Wright-Patterson Air Force Base or Wurtsmith Air Force Base, you can take this information to your healthcare provider and begin the process of talking about how this fits into how you take care of yourself and the medications that they're providing. We know, and we'll talk on this in future reports, how this affects your immune system. And so that would be an important thing. Now, I'll tell you this, I've taken this information to my doctors, and we listened to crickets for a while. I soon discovered they knew nothing about it. So it'll be incumbent upon you to teach your healthcare provider. So, and there's more to this, and we're reaching the end of our broadcast here. But the most important thing is this is a good place to get your blood tested, and one I highly recommend. And get on the websites, and if you have questions, they have things there where you can send them questions, and they'll get those answered for you. Right, Dean? Is that
That's
how that
correct.
works? Okay. Okay.
You cannot have
Okay.
too much information when it comes to this.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, I think this concludes our toxic PFAS situation report on blood testing, and this is through Enviro Labs there in Oscoda, Michigan. And so, anything that you would like to say before we close, Dean?
The one thing that I would say and recommend is that, the data continues to come in on PFAS and health. And I think that people ultimately, I would hope that there becomes a point where this data in terms of people being screened, that it's actually put into a meaningful database that can help quantify this problem even more. I think the more information the medical community has, the better it's going to be for all of us. So I would recommend we're abiding by HIPAA, and we're and making sure that people get their results secure and privately. But I think that people doing the kind of work that are trying to, assess the health risk across our entire population, this is important data. And I think this is a case where if you can anonymously share your data in the future with those folks, I would highly encourage that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We're going to try to set up something here to where folks that feel led to share it, we can collect that data. And one good thing that it would come of that is we could start identifying where the high exposure sites were, because we'll be able to look at where the people were. And there are probably places that we don't even know that where people were contaminated by huge amounts of PFAS from firefighter foam. And it's just not only firefighter foam. We know other sources of PFAS poisoning has happened across the nation. Okay, well, that ends our broadcast today. Dean, it's been a pleasure to interview you, and we're going to have you on again in the near future to take us through some of the things that you've done for testing and that kind. We'll do a short thing that as you get people getting their blood tested, things that you can tell folks on that they should do or not do, and we'll just keep everybody informed. So I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule and putting together this information for all things about PFAS that people are really concerned about. So have a great day.
Thank you. You have a
Bye
great day
now.
too.